evening. Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being webcast on Comcast TV Channel 15 and live streamed on the city's YouTube channel at https://www.youtube.com/user/City of Hayward and on the city website at https://hayward.legistar.com/calendar.aspx. The mayor will call upon members of the city council, city staff, and other speakers by name and asks that they state their names before giving comments or remarks. Individuals participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. City council members and members of the public participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature, and the mayor will call upon them at the appropriate time. Members participating via teleconference wishing to speak should dial *9, and they will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organizations, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received by email at list-mayor-council@hayward-ca.gov, city clerk at hayward-ca.gov, or via e-comment by 3 p.m. will be distributed to the city council and staff, published on the city's meeting and agenda center under documents received after published agenda, and entered into the record. Documents received after 3 p.m. through the adjournment of the meeting will be included as part of the meeting record and published the following day. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. In order to get the full Zoom experience, please make sure your application is up to date. Public members wishing to speak with the City Council can send an email to list-mayor-council@hayward-ca.gov or cityclerk@hayward-ca.gov.
And with that, good evening, everyone. I will call to order this meeting of the Hayward City Council, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Good evening. Councilmember Andrews.
Present.
Councilmember Lamnin.
Present.
Councilmember Marquez.
Present.
Councilmember Salinas.
Present.
Councilmember Wahab.
Here.
Councilmember Cermeño.
Present.
Mayor Halliday.
Here.
Thank you. All 7 members present.
Thank you. We'll now have our closed session announcement, and I'll turn this over to our city attorney, Mr. Lawson, for that. And this will be the closed session announcement for a closed session we held on August 24th, last week on September 14th, and tonight, September 21st.
Mayor Halliday, council members, please bear with me because I will be reporting on 3 meetings, which included the closed sessions on August 24th. The council met in closed session at 5:30 p.m. on August 24th to discuss labor negotiations with all bargaining groups pursuant to posted notice. With all members present, the council took no reportable action and the closed session adjourned at 7:30 p.m. Second, the council met in closed session at 5 p.m. on September 14th to discuss 3 items. 1, anticipated litigation, 1 matter, pursuant to posted notice. With Councilmember Marquez recusing herself, the council took no reportable action on that matter. Second, the council discussed pending litigation involving the case of Woods versus the City of Hayward, pursuant to posted notice. With all members present, the council took no reportable action. And 3, the council discussed labor negotiations with all bargaining groups pursuant to posted notice. With all members present, the council took no reportable action. Please note the council reconvened after the joint school board meeting and completed the closed session regarding labor with no reportable action. The closed session adjourned at 10 p.m. Tonight, the council met in closed session at 5 p.m. to discuss 1, pending litigation involving the case of Mitchell versus the City of Hayward, a workers' compensation matter pursuant to posted notice. With all members present, the council took no reportable action. 2, anticipated litigation involving one matter pursuant to posted notice, and with Councilmember Marquez recusing herself, the council took no reportable action. 3, the council discussed property transactions involving Route 238 Parcel Group 3 pursuant to posted notice. With Councilmember Andrews recusing herself, the council took no reportable action. The closed session adjourned at 6:22 p.m. That is the report for the 3 closed sessions. Mayor, thank you. I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Now, before we proceed with our agenda, I just want to announce that item number 14 on this evening's agenda, which was regarding the Mission Crossings development, that is being continued to September 28th, a week from tonight. So we will not be hearing item number 14 this evening. And with that, I am going to open public comments for this evening. And I will, I do believe we at least have one hand raised there from the public. So I'm going to turn it over to our city clerk, Ms. Lenz, to conduct or to call upon the public comment speakers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And if I may, I'm going to share my screen so that community members have the information. So community members wishing to join the meeting via Zoom can follow the information on the first page of the agenda, which is also on our screen right now. And I'll go to the next one. Individuals using Zoom to join the meeting can click the raise hand icon to request to speak. And those joining via telephone can press star 9. I will unmute microphones when the mayor calls on individuals wishing to speak. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to now stop sharing. And I believe we have
I have a few now.
Yes, we have a few of them. Okay, the first one, John Varga. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Mayor Halliday and members of the council. My name is John Varga, and I am proudly speaking to you this evening on behalf of the hardworking and dedicated Hayward members of IFPTE Local 21. Local 21's members are pleased to have reached an agreement with the city that provides much needed cost of living adjustments and other improvements to our memorandum of understanding, and hope that you will vote in favor of directing the city staff to execute that agreement. Local 21's members are proud to work for Hayward's residents and businesses, and this agreement provides the type of wages and benefits that allow the city to retain the people who work so hard to make Hayward work. Our union siblings in SEIU 10-1 and HAME are still negotiating to achieve fair and equitable wages and working conditions. And the members of Local 21 stand in solidarity and support our coworkers and urge the City Council to show their support as well. City of Hayward workers truly do make Hayward work. And we in Local 21 are here to tell you that Hayward works best when we all work for Hayward together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Looks like our next speaker is Mo Hatta.
Hi, Mayor and the entire City Council. I was calling to speak regarding item number 16.
Then you should wait until that item is called this evening.
That's the item that's is that the item that's continued, Mayor? Oh, wait,
No, that is not the item that is continued. It's actually the last item on the agenda, which I don't know what time we will be hearing that, but if you wanted to go ahead and make a comment now, I would, unless you would like to wait until we actually hear that item. Are you there? Huh, okay. Okay, so
Oh, thank you, Mayor Holliday. I just wanted to thank the City Council for adopting this important resolution, welcoming and calling for support of Afghan refugees. And I will wait until that item is heard. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
all right, thank you. Next, we have David Donovan.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is David Donovan. I am the plant manager for the City of Hayward's wastewater treatment plant. I've been an employee here for
I think we lost the speaker, so if he comes back, we'll come back to him, but we'll move on now to Carol Lee.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Carol Lee. I'm a management analyst with the City of Hayward and a proud member of HAME. I've dedicated over the last 7 years working on programs and projects to improve the quality of life for Hayward residents. While we may have worked alongside each other in various capacities, you may not know that I'm wife to my high school sweetheart, and together we have 3 young children. I bring this up because my role here at the city and my role at home are inseparable. My employment with the city allows me to provide for my family, and it also allows me to invest in an organization and community that I highly value. However, on many occasions, I've had to tuck my children into bed over FaceTime because I'm still here at work. These are cherished moments that I can't get back, and my children have memories of time lost. I am committed to getting the job done in a meaningful way for the community. But city staff shouldn't have to choose between being an excellent employee and an excellent parent. We deserve a fair contract, one that attracts and retains high-performing employees, acknowledges the contributions and sacrifices of staff. So please, remember me, remember HAME, SEIU, IFPTE, and our families when you make these decisions, because we too are integral members of this community, and we are worth your investment. Thank you very much. I yield my time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Michael Barnes. We had, Michael Barnes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and the City Council, City Manager. Always good to see you all. My name is Michael Barnes. I'm the Revenue Manager, and I've been with the city for a little over 9 years now. I'm a member of HAME, was president of the organization for about 5 years, the past couple of contract negotiation cycles. And I'm just here to say that I really hope that we take some time and council is able to address some of the equity adjustments that we've been negotiating with the city. Our most recent equity adjustment or our equity survey showed that about half of our members are below market rate, and the average below market rate is around 11%. And cost of living adjustments are one thing, but to me, equity adjustments just speak to fairness and keeping things at market rate, which is something that I know has been a consideration and a priority amongst council throughout time. So I'm just hoping that we take some time and we're able to actually address these equity adjustments this year. And I'm very proud and very thankful for everything the council has done while I have this moment. Council has done, the mayor has done, and the executive team and city manager throughout the pandemic and throughout all the time that I've been with the city to really see some hard work and good work being done. So I appreciate all of you too. So thank you very much. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. And I don't see any other requests to speak at the moment, and I don't see that Mr. Donovan has rejoined us. So I'm going to go ahead and close.
Mayor Halliday.
There he is, David Donovan. Okay, maybe, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Good evening. Is this better now? Better connection? Sorry about that. Technology. Hi, I'll start over.
I can't hear you, so go ahead.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, my name is David Donovan. Well, good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak with you this evening. My name is David Donovan. I am the plant manager at the wastewater treatment plant. Many of you have probably come down and seen our award-winning treatment plant. I don't know if you guys know, we've actually got onto the EPA's top 30 nationwide green energy producer again this year. The reason why I'm here tonight is similar to Michael Barnes, is to talk about equities. I've been here almost 6 years, and that was the last time we saw a significant equity adjustment. About in 2018, I was a silent observer for the negotiations with Haym in the city. We were in there and we were surprised to hear the city was not giving equities to us in 2018. And in fact, it seemed that they were promising that no one would be seeing equities in the 2018 contract. Unfortunately, that was not totally true because both IFPTE and SEIU received equities in their last contract. We were under the impression this year, this contract, we would be getting a salary survey and equity adjustments accordingly. Because we did not see that in our 2018 contract. And yet I'm on the negotiating team still, and it seems like the city is resistant to giving us these equities. I can repeat the facts that Michael Barnes shared. About 50% of our staff, Haym staff, are at least 11% behind in equities. I work for the wastewater treatment plant, and we compete against private districts who always seem to have better wages and or benefits than us. And I feel it essential for us to help us to recruit top performers for our award-winning plants, to have at least equities that are comparable to our counterparts in the region. That's basically all I have. I thank you for your time. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Is there another speaker, Madam City Clerk? I see another hand raised. It doesn't have a name.
That's correct.
895, yeah.
Is the last three digits 868. And we'll go ahead.
868. Oh, yeah, okay.
You could please press *6 to unmute.
Hi, good evening. My name is Suzanne Phyllis, and I am a Hayward resident and a senior secretary for the City of Hayward Economic Development Team, and I'm also the SEIU Clerical Chapter President. Over the last few months, members from SEIU Local 21 in Haym have been meeting as a coalition with council members to ask for their support for all of our current negotiations. I want to thank you all for taking the time to meet with us. We appreciate it. We feel heard, and it feels good that it's a two-way conversation. During these meetings, we've discussed the vibrancy, diversity, and strength of the Hayward community and economy. And more recently, in a second round of calls, the need for council to expand the authority of city negotiators so that we can bargain fairly and reach a contract that we can all feel good about. SEIU has 320 members working hard to provide for their families and their futures. We are the essential workers for the city of Hayward. Many of us continued to come in throughout the pandemic. We didn't have the opportunity or the choice to work from home. None of us received any hazard pay, and none of us stopped working hard for you. So I'm here tonight to once again respectfully ask for you to expand the authorization of negotiators so that we can complete this bargaining process, sign a contract that works for everyone, and get on with serving the Hayward residents and businesses in the professional, excellent manner that we have been throughout this whole time. So thank you very much. I do appreciate your time. I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I don't see any other hands raised. So I'm going to go ahead and close public comments for this evening on matters. And again, this is on matters not otherwise on our agenda. Of course, we will take public comments on agenda items as well. With that, we're going to move on to comments from our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome back from August recess. It's good to see everyone. I wanted to alert the council, who's aware of this, but also members of the public, that we will be returning to what we're calling hybrid in-person city council meetings, starting with next week's meeting. And members of the council, we did AB 361 just recently passed, which allows the council to continue meeting virtually, but also to allows in-person meetings to resume. And so we will be resuming in-person meetings. We will be requiring that anyone who enters the council chambers for council meetings have proof of vaccination and a photo ID. If you do not have a proof of vaccination, will be able to participate remotely on the Zoom platform. Members of the public will still be able to participate via the Zoom platform, along with city staff members or council members who need to avail themselves of that option. So we will be trying out this technology next week. It is something that we anticipate continuing and continuing to have to allow for additional public access. I think the Zoom ability to make comments virtually has allowed for a lot of flexibility for members of the public who otherwise wouldn't have been able to make it to council meetings or board and commission meetings. So we anticipate continuing this model. And so we look forward to welcoming some folks back into the council chambers next week. And we will again make that announcement on the agendas that you do need proof of vaccination to be in person in the council chambers for council meetings. Otherwise, you can participate virtually for those meetings. So that is the first comment. And then the second, I wanted to just update the council and the community on the work that staff has done over the summer with respect to the Calpine Russell City Energy Center and the explosion that occurred on the evening of May 27th. August was a busy month for the mayor and I, and I'll let her share first, maybe just the updates. We had the members of the California Energy Commission and CPUC visit the site. So Mayor Halliday, if you want to just make a couple quick comments about those site visits.
Yes, well, when we were last together, I think earlier in the summer, we were all very concerned about what had happened at the Calpine plant and what was going to happen going forward. We did, the city manager and the fire chief and I all, supported by the city attorney and some other staff, but appeared at a California Energy Commission meeting where we did not get what we were asking for, which was to keep the plant shut until they figured out what the cause was of the of the explosion and fixed it. And so, but it became clear that the California Energy Commission had a lot of concerns, especially at that point, regarding the ability to provide electric power to, the community at large this summer during heat, and felt that it was really essential to allow the Calpine plant to operate on a reduced basis with what they had. The other thing, though, that we were really asking for was better cooperation with our fire department that had to respond to that explosion that occurred that evening of May 28th. And I think we made our point there. And I think we really were heard. And I can say that we were heard because over the course of the summer after that, while the plant has been allowed to operate only when absolutely needed on its 2 cycles, and as you probably all, I don't know if all of you understand. I understand a lot better now than I did before this summer about exactly how that plant operates. But there are 2 natural gas powered turbines that operate, but then they generate steam, which then allows a 3rd turbine to operate without any additional natural gas, thus making it a more efficient plant. It was that 3rd turbine, the steam operated one that blew up. And so they're now operating as a 2-turbine natural gas powered plant. But we were heard on the issue of better cooperation with our fire department. And so over the course of the summer, because of the Brown Act requirements for the Energy Commission, we actually had 3 tours of the plant, 2 commissioners at one, 2 commissioners at the other, and then 1 commissioner plus the president of the California Public Utilities Commission at the 3rd tour. And all of them, I think in the course of this, and even with the Calpine staff, who I think at the beginning of all of this, we were not entirely thrilled with. We have all gotten, getting to know each other on a personal basis helps in working out issues and problems. And I'll leave it to the city manager. And I don't think the fire chief is with us right now, but, but I can say it is certainly my impression that the working relationship is a lot better now between our fire department and Calpine. And we will be more involved in the future in that plant and how things are operating. And I can tell you that all of the energy commissioners expressed, great concern about the community and about making sure that we go forward, that as we go forward, that plant is operated in a safe manner and that this doesn't occur again. So I do think we accomplished something, maybe not what we set out at the beginning, but we all know that power is an essential thing as well. And, we have a crisis with other situations in our state that made it really them feel that it was essential to allow them to operate. But I think under much more scrutiny at this point. I think they get it. And I think at some point we will probably hear from the fire chief too about all of this, that, the working relationship is better. So that's how things stand from my standpoint right now.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. And I'll just a couple other quick comments. In addition to the tours that the mayor mentioned, I also testified at the August 11th Energy Commission meeting to update on the progress that we've been making. We have convened a weekly working group that includes senior staff from the city, the California Energy Commission, the California Public Utilities Commission, and then Calpine staff. All have been cooperating on the Energy Commission investigation into the incident. As that team, we have reviewed the 2019 Public Utilities Commission audit of that facility. And then we have identified a number of ways that Calpine will be more closely collaborating with the fire department. We now, the chief and I receive notifications whenever the plant goes online for any energy production needs. And then with that working group, we're working on statewide process changes that will enhance coordination and cooperation between state and local agencies going forward. And we're looking at some sort of statewide policy changes as a result of this incident, which I think is a really positive outcome, not just for Hayward, but for the entire state and local communities. And lastly, there is an independent third party that has been retained to complete the root cause analysis of the incident. This is a requirement of the Energy Commission anytime there's a major incident like this. Our working group will be reviewing that document together along with the Energy Commission's investigation. And then those findings will likely be presented at the December or January Energy Commission meeting. And we will be a part of that and any any additional changes that might be needed at the plant. So we can present more information about the enhanced cooperation. The chief and I are meeting with Calpine on some other sort of cost sharing items that the Energy Commission asked us to do. And then we'll also be meeting and convening a conversation with the Russell City working group to talk about ways, kind of having a conversation about whether keeping the name the Russell City Energy Center is appropriate given the history that we are all acknowledging and recognizing now with respect to Russell City, and also talking about some other elements around the art piece and Heritage Plaza and some other pieces. So looking forward to those continuing conversations. And it's been a while, so I just wanted to update the council on all the work that we've been doing over the past couple of months. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes. And the Russell City matter too. And I know that either the city manager would be very happy to receive any comments any of you have. And if you want to know more, we can certainly connect you with the Calpine people as well.
Mayor, I do have a question for city manager.
Go ahead, Councilmember Wahab.
Just a quick update on the letter to support the Mohekma Ohlone tribe. Do we have an update on that?
Correct. We've been working, the mayor and I have been working on that. And I know she's meeting with the chairwoman, I think next week. And so we should have further updates for the council soon on that matter.
Okay. I do want to say that I've talked to a couple of folks that represent that tribe. They are very appreciative of the entire council being supportive of that particular letter. So thank you.
Yeah, we are working on that and some other things actually that we might collaborate with them on. So I will be meeting with them actually next week. So hope to get that letter out soon. Anyone else? Okay, with that, we are going to move on to our action items this evening. And we will.
Mayor, we can't hear you.
Lost your audio.
Your audio, Mayor, we can't hear you.
Huh.
Now we can. It's back.
Okay. I don't think I was muted, so I don't know what happened there. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to item number 1, which is adoption of a resolution confirming the appointment and reappointment of members of the Community Services Commission, the Keep Hayward Clean and Green Task Force, the Library Commission, and the Planning Commission. And we will hear from our city clerk, Ms. Lenz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and community members. I'm really delighted to present to you after a well-deserved break. So it's good to be back. So if you allow me, I will go ahead and share my screen. And are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. The item before you relates to city commissions and the Keep Hayward Clean and Green Task Force, as it was stated by our mayor. Now, by way of background, the recruitment for city commissions and the Keep Hayward Clean and Green Task Force was conducted from April 13th through June 30th. 96 applications were received by the submission deadline, and 90 of them qualified to be considered for appointment. During a special meeting on July 6th, the council reviewed reappointment requests and followed a process for evaluating them. The council approved a request for reappointment. During that same meeting, the council also declared 2 task force seats vacant. And as we have done previously, council members reviewed and pre-screened all applications and communicated their selections to my office. And a total of 23 applications were invited to interview with the city council. On July 16th, the Keep Hayward Clean and Green Task Force Subcommittee interviewed 14 applicants and recommended 9 for service. On July 27th, the City Council interviewed applicants and selected individuals for service. So in summary, this year we had a total of 23 vacancies all across all meeting bodies, except for the Personnel Commission. We didn't have any vacancies on the Personnel Commission. 5 members are recommended for reappointment to the Community Services Commission, as you could see on the screen, for 4-year terms. 3 members are recommended for reappointment to the Library Commission for 4-year terms as shown on the screen. 6 individuals are recommended for service on the Community Services Commission. 2 for service on the Library Commission, and 1 on the Planning Commission for terms as shown on the screen, and also on the resolution. 9 individuals are recommended for appointment to the task force for terms as shown on the screen. And 4 individuals are recommended as alternates, 2 for the Community Services Commission, 1 for the Library Commission, and 1 for the Planning Commission. Should unexpired vacancies occur throughout the year, the alternates will be recommended to fill vacated positions. In terms of next steps, the oath of affirmation will be administered on September 24th via the Zoom platform. And the city of Hayward will host a virtual training on September 30th. This is for the required training for ethics and harassment prevention. So finally, staff is recommending that the council adopts a resolution confirming 18 appointments, 8 reappointments, and 4 alternates. Mayor, that concludes my presentation. And before I turn the meeting back to you, I want to thank our community members who are waiting to be appointed by official action of the City Council. And also, I want to acknowledge the contributions of members whose terms are ending. So I just wanted to take a moment to show appreciation for our community members. And with that, Mayor, I'm available to take any questions. If there are no questions, you could proceed with public comment, discussion, and then take action. Thank you.
Okay, I do think that I see Councilmember Marquez, your hand up.
Mayor, after public comments, I'd like to move the item.
All right, so I'm going to open public comments on this item. I do not see any hands raised at the moment. Madam City Clerk, do you see any? Yes, now I see one. Let's go ahead and.
Actually, I think the person lowered the hand. It was
so. You don't think that we do actually have any hands raised for?
Not for this.
Yeah, you're right. I don't see one. I just see. Okay, so I'll close public comment and go to Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd like to move item number 1 to adopt the resolution confirming the appointment and reappointment of members of the Community Services Commission, Keep Hayward Clean and Green Task Force, Library Commission, and Planning Commission. And if there's a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. So I just want to briefly commend and acknowledge the city clerk and her team. This is a very challenging recruitment process to do every year. And every year she's just gone above and beyond with ensuring that there's a good cross-section of representation from different ethnicities, socioeconomic levels, ages, neighborhoods, you name it. She does a great job with the outreach leading up to the recruitment. So just want to thank you and your team for all your hard work, and thank everyone that wants to serve, is going to reapply next year. And just really happy that we also have the alternate option to give people an opportunity to come in should there be changes throughout the year, which unfortunately we've seen a lot of moving parts in the last couple of years. We've had to call up those alternates a lot. So thank you everyone for your good work on this.
Thank you. And I'll just add my thanks too for the process. There, as always, there are some ups and downs, some bumps along the way, but I'm really gratified that we have so many people applying for these positions, and I wish that we had room for all of them, but I'd like to assure all of those who applied and did not receive appointments that there is work to be done in the city, and there are always places where you can go and volunteer and help your community. And so it's just very heartening to see that desire to help the community from all of the applicants, especially those that we interview. It's always a pleasure to do that, to interview people, and it's always a very, very hard decision that to make the selection. But I think that we have done well here. So with that, unless there is any further discussion on this motion by Councilmember Marquez and seconded by Councilmember Wahab, Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Support the recommendation to appoint all of these people to the commissions they were selected for.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Andrews.
Aye. Thank you, staff, for all your hard work.
Thank you. Councilmember Lamnin.
Yes, with appreciation to all. Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Marquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Wahab.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cermeño.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Halliday.
Yes. And the motion carries with 7 aye votes. And that swearing in will be on Friday, this coming Friday. Is that correct? What you said? Are you doing, and you're doing that via Zoom?
Yes, and unfortunately, one more year that we're doing this via Zoom.
Yeah, I'm very sorry that we don't have our appointees in the council chambers to take the oath of office there, but we are still in a state of emergency. And so we will do it this way, but I know that I speak for all of my colleagues on the council in saying that we look forward to working with all of you who have been chosen, and congratulations. So with that, we will now move on to our consent calendar, which consists of items this evening, 2 through 12. And I had not received any request to take any items off. Councilmember Wahab?
I'll move all 12 items or 11 items to the 12.
Mayor Halliday, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did receive a request to speak on item number 12. And if I could please have the individual who requested for me to pull that item to raise her hand.
All right. So what we will do is we will
2 to 11. We'll move.
So why don't we hear the comment, because if it may or may not change the outcome of the motion.
Yeah. Okay. And then we may go ahead and do the 12, 11 of them. All right. Let's go ahead and hear. And she specifically says, it's Cheryl Panic specifically on item number, item number 12. Well, no, actually, since we have a motion, 2 through 11, let's go ahead and have that vote then, since we didn't have any other hands raised. So let's have the vote on 2 through 11, and then we'll go to item 12.
Mayor, who seconded? It wasn't clear. A lot of us.
It was Councilmember Salinas.
Okay, thank you.
And just for the record, Mayor, who moved the items?
Councilmember Wahab.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
Aye.
Councilmember Lamnin.
Aye.
Councilmember Marquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas.
Yes.
Councilmember Wahab.
Yes.
Councilmember Cermeño.
Aye.
Mayor Halliday.
Yes, and the item carries with 7 aye votes. Now we'll go to item number 12, which is adoption of a resolution approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of Hayward and the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers, Local 21, and authorizing staff to execute the agreement. And we'll just go straight to our speaker, Cheryl Panic.
Hi, this is Cheryl Pinnick. I'm the IFPTE Local 21 president, and I'm also a librarian with the City of Hayward. Just wanted to take a moment to comment and say how appreciative we are to the city and to the council members for all your support in this bargaining round. This is my 3rd time at the bargaining table, and this was the least contentious. I don't know if bargaining virtually made it less contentious because we can't pound on the table and throw papers at each other, but in any case, we are very grateful. We are still waiting for our coalition members, HAIM and SEIU, to resolve their bargaining, and we still want to show we will be continuing to show our support for them, and standing next to them, beside them as they finish at the table also. Whatever we need to do to move those along, if we need to break them, and however we need to, if it's a matter of breaking the items into smaller pieces so they're more digestible, whatever it is, we just want to also have our coalition members get their tentative agreements also, so that we can all work together to advance Hayward and continue to do the great things that we're doing with the city. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment and your work at the negotiating table and your work for the city. And with that, I don't see any other requests to speak, so we'll go back to council. I'll close public comment on this item. Number
Second.
Wahab. Oh, all right. So council member, this time council members, was that council member Salinas?
Salinas moved.
Okay,
Yeah.
Salinas moved. Council member Wahab seconded. I don't see any other hands raised. You didn't want to comment, or did you want to comment?
I do want to comment. I appreciate all the callers that have called in regarding the negotiations. I also know that it's incredibly difficult during COVID and all of that. I do want to thank every single employee that has been working on this, from staff as well as just, the day-to-day work. So I genuinely appreciate the conversation, the communication with council, as well as the transparency thus far. So I do believe that HAME and SEIU will also be moving forward. So I'm happy to support this item.
All right, thank you. And with that, seeing no other comments, I'll call for a roll call vote on this motion made by Councilmember Salinas and seconded by Councilmember Wahab.
Yes. Councilmember Andrews.
Aye.
Councilmember Lamnin.
Aye.
Councilmember Marquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas.
Yes.
Councilmember Wahab.
Yes.
Councilmember Cermeño.
Aye.
Mayor Halliday.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the motion passes with 7 aye votes. Okay, now we're going to move on. But before we move on to item number 13, which is our work session item, I think I'm sorry, I neglected to announce at the beginning, I think, right, that item number 14 on tonight's agenda, which is a public hearing regarding the Missions Crossings development, is being continued to September 28th, and we will not be hearing that item tonight. So if you are here as a member of the public who wanted who are here for that item, I just want to let you know that item is not going to be heard this week. It will be heard next week. So with that, we're going to move on to item 13, which is our work session item this evening. Regarding an update on the eviction moratorium for rental housing, and an update on the status of the state eviction moratorium, local eviction and foreclosure data, and a summary of resources available to prevent evictions and foreclosures. And we're going to start, I believe, with Assistant City Manager Ott on this one.
Yeah, and I'm going to turn it over very quickly to our housing manager, Christina Morales, who will give you a short presentation on this.
Okay, too many buttons to press at once. All right, so good evening, Mayor Holliday and members of the City Council. I'm Christina Morales, Housing Division Manager. And as mentioned, the work session is to provide you with a briefing on evictions and foreclosures in the city of Hayward. The reason for this item is that on June 22nd, we were given direction by the City Council to provide an update prior to the state eviction moratorium concluding at the end of this month, and also to provide information on the city's plans for ensuring that Hayward residents are aware of the resources that are available to them so that they can prevent any future evictions. So the overview of tonight's presentation will give you an update of the state's moratorium, the eviction protection and foreclosure landscape, tenant and homeowner protection assistance, and the outreach efforts that we have already initiated and will continue to implement as we move forward as the protections change. First off, to give you the very long overview of the eviction and local moratorium protections, you can see starting in March of 2020, this city started with a local moratorium on evictions. Just some of the highlights is that in September of 2020, the state enacted a moratorium which superseded the city's right to extend any future moratorium. So at that point, the city's local moratorium concluded. And since then, there have been state eviction protections related to non-payment of rent that have protected individuals from being evicted related to based on COVID-related non-payments. And where we are right now at the end is that the state moratoria will conclude at the end of this month. What has come, and let me just jump back one. So what you'll notice in the timeline, I was going the wrong way, I apologize. In the timeline is that there were a couple of extensions by the state. And in that were some amendments to the legislation that provided additional protections, including tenant rental assistance, and also provisions that prevented eviction based on non-payment, which we'll discuss in just a minute. So primarily the financial assistance that became available would provide up to a year's worth of rent due to non-payment related to COVID-19. And it also covers future rent and utilities. It was divided into a couple of time periods that would prevent evictions related to a non-payment of rent. One was at the initial onset where the tenant didn't have to pay any portion of that rent. And then there is a period of time that started after the state's protections were enacted that protected the tenant if they were able to pay 25% of their rent and provided the landlord with a hardship notification. What's important about this is individuals who qualify under those that moratorium have protection from foreclosure going forward. So if they qualified for that, the tenant cannot be evicted for non-payment of rent during the period that the moratorium was in place. If they met those requirements, the landlord can only recover the unpaid rent through small claims court. So the tenants have some eviction protections there. Additional protections include that if a landlord refuses to participate in the rental assistance programs that a tenant has applied for, any claim by the landlord may be reduced by the court when they evaluate any claims the landlord may have. Also moving forward, the tenants are protected from eviction if they're qualified for and eligible for rental assistance and actively seeking rental assistance. It also requires that the landlord provide notice to the tenant of their potential eligibility for financial assistance before they initiate any process to recover the rent from the tenant. We've also prepared some data on local evictions to give you some insight on what we're seeing in terms of activity. But because of the moratoria that have been in place, there's been very little activity related to evictions. What we do have for the city is information on notices of termination of tenancy. And just to clarify, this is the initiation, how the process of eviction begins. First, the tenant has to be notified based on the city's just cause provisions of the termination and the cause of the termination, the reason for the eviction. In this case, we've determined that 96% of the termination notices filed with the city are related to non-payment of rent. And most of these notices can be cured. So it means that people are not necessarily in jeopardy of eviction. It is under the state legislation, in addition to being able to cure it by paying any past due rent, they could cure these notices by providing a notice of hardship. What we don't have is any data on actual evictions. Evictions happen in the courts, and we've been working, while there's no existing data, we've been working with the Alameda County Superior Courts to obtain the data as we move forward. And so we have been also participating in the Eviction Prevention Learning Lab, where we have access to resources where we will have the capacity to map this data to understand better if there is a concentration of evictions in certain zip codes over others. So we will continue to monitor and track the data as it relates to evictions here in the city of Hayward. We also looked at some regional data based on the Census Bureau's Housing Pulse Survey, just to give us an understanding of what households are experiencing. And so what we were seeing is that about 16% of the households that were surveyed in the metro area are still behind on their rent. There's a greater impact on lower income households. And when we look at how many individuals are concerned about evictions, knowing the current protections that are in place, when we see that number is so high, what it's telling us is that many tenants may not be aware of the eviction protections or the rental assistance that's available to them. We have also started to track foreclosure data, and the numbers are still very low. We're seeing about 22 transactions that are in various stages of foreclosure. Pre-foreclosure, meaning that the homeowner has received a notice of termination of tenancy, about 10 properties that are scheduled for auction, and 6 properties that are owned by the lender. So they've already been through the auction sale process. And so what we know about the protections for homeowners is that they were provided a forbearance period, and that forbearance period is beginning to conclude for many homeowners. So we are tracking and monitoring these foreclosures to see if we're seeing an increase in the occurrence of them. I also want to mention that in the foreclosure process, there are noticing periods, which means that a foreclosure could not happen within a short period of time. It takes, at a minimum, you're looking at a 6-month process, but many of them take a year to conclude. So we're not, some people may not, very few people may be at immediate risk of foreclosure, and some of them are just initiating this process. We also looked at the Pulse data survey, this Pulse survey for data regionally, what's going on, to see if we can get more insight into what's happening in the households, and notice that in terms of the homeowners, we have less households that have been impacted by inability to pay their mortgage. So 8% of the households surveyed in the metro area are still behind on their mortgage. And there is a low percentage of homeowners at risk of foreclosure. Once again, the lower income households are more impacted, but not at the same rate as the renter households. And while these percentages are low, we also know that we here in Hayward, we have a lower income community. And so it is likely that we have a greater impact than we're seeing in the region. So we continue to monitor the data to look for ways that we can assist households that might be facing foreclosure. That said, with all of the statistics and what we're seeing in terms of evictions and foreclosure, we did also summarize what tenant and landlord protections are available. In terms of emergency rental assistance and mediation services, the city has already provided $1.5 million in rental assistance, serving over 670 households. In Alameda County, they have implemented the Housing Secure program with $61 million. Currently, over 1,800 Hayward residents have applied for assistance, and the requests total over $37 million. And there are 262 applications that have been approved, dispersing about $4.4 million of those funds. The city has also implemented a free mediation services for tenants and landlords to enter into repayment plans if the tenant is unable to pay rent due to COVID-19 financial impacts. This is an important piece of the protections, because the tenants that will be eligible for rental assistance are low income. So this will help provide support and assistance to individuals who would be over income for rental assistance. And between the tenant and the landlord, they could reach an agreement for repayment for any past due rent, and could avoid the court system, either if they have to go to small claims court or the eviction process, because they could negotiate outside that process. In terms of foreclosure protections and assistance, as I mentioned before, there has been forbearance for federally backed mortgages, but it's coming to an end. So the state has started developing a financial assistance program, the California Mortgage Relief Program, that they are just waiting for approval from the Treasury in order to implement the program. So we will continue to monitor and track the program and have more details available about the program once it's implemented. The city has funded a contract with A1 Community Housing Services to provide foreclosure prevention counseling. And the council authorized $1.3 million to provide financial assistance loans to low-income homeowners that can't otherwise address COVID-related mortgage delinquency. So we have initiated that process of hiring a consultant. We just received response to the RFP that was issued on August 19th. We'll select the consultant at the beginning of October and return to council October 19th with a consultant that we would hire to administer that program. In addition, there's also legal resources that are being provided to the community. The council approved an agreement with Centro Legal de la Raza to provide legal services to stop displacement and promote housing stability. All Hayward residents have access to the legal drop-in clinics, and these services are also targeted for low-income household. Alameda County also provides legal assistance to their Alameda County Housing Secure program, where they have different non-profit legal advisors that help tenants and homeowners with their various housing issues. So based on all of the data and information we've seen about foreclosures and evictions, and considering all the new protections that are in place to prevent evictions and foreclosure, staff is not recommending at this time to enact a local moratorium when the state moratoria expires. Based on this data, considering the information that many tenants don't appear to be aware of protections for either rental assistance or the moratoria that are in place, staff recommends increasing outreach in our efforts to improve awareness regarding the available protections and funding resources. That said, the next topic is to discuss the education and outreach. So we've started to increase our education and outreach so that people are aware of the protections that are available. Ways we have increased outreach and support to the community is we have already sent a Know Your Rights postcard to all addresses of rental properties in the city of Hayward. We are also including in the rent review fee bills that we will be sending out at the beginning of October. We've included Know Your Rights information in that mailer. My staff has attended over 38 community events over the last year and have 9 more scheduled for the rest of the year. We continue to hold monthly workshops about rental housing, and we're working to expand our list of community partners. We've been promoting the Alameda County Rental Assistance Program and other city programs, and we will be implementing our financial assistance program for low-income homeowners. Lastly, we continue to evaluate our process and our procedures by leveraging the technical assistance with the Eviction Prevention Learning Lab to improve our eviction prevention strategies. And of this has kind of come a connection with the Alameda County Superior Courts, which has created a new relationship that we think will help improve people's outcomes if they can access information early, if they are experiencing an eviction. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, this is a work session, so we're going to go to public comment first, so I'm going to invite any members of the public who would like to comment on this item to please raise their hands. But I am not seeing any hands go up. Going once, going twice. All right, so then I will close public comment and go back to council for questions and comments. This is a work session item again, so they're asking for our input. And I will recognize Councilmember Salinas.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Morales. I have to tell you, based on firsthand experience, your office has been doing a fantastic job, both on the the development of the moratorium policy to implementation of the policy, all the way now as we sort of transition to this new policy environment or policy period, where our success is going to be based on outreach and education. And I think, one of your outreach educators, Deanna Gomez, I can't say enough good things about Ms. Gomez. The community loves her, the neighborhoods love her, the folks that she's been talking to. And I mean, her approach has been very personalized. She's not afraid to give out her phone number. She works, on Fridays, and late into the evenings. I mean, this particular program is more than just sort of putting out, educational materials and just, having people respond. This is, you really have to walk with people through this process. And so I just really wanted to thank you for that. My two questions or two comments are one is primarily about the data collection. And, I've been over the past, 19 or so months, 20 months, I guess, I've been really, focused on data, on the impact the relief is having, the impact, the families that we're reaching. And I guess, what I'd like to have and what I'd like staff is, you may already have this collected, but what I'd like for you to start to think about is looking at geographic data, looking at what neighborhoods are being impacted the most. Are there particular streets? Are there particular areas? Are some areas getting more relief than others? And then, that might enable us to ask the question, why is that? Are some people getting different information than other people? So forth. I'd really like for us to start, collecting data, geographic data, even I see those maps that are, those heat maps, to see what areas of the city are getting coverage or getting relief. I think that's important. Secondly, just a point of feedback that I got just recently from a neighborhood gathering. A lot of folks are filling out the application, and a lot of folks are starting the process. And I was talking to some apartment owners and managers recently, and they were telling me that while they were appreciative for everyone starting the application, they were unsuccessful to track the application all the way through. A lot of families were stuck in the middle of the process, whether it was paperwork they needed, or they just gave up, or they didn't know. They just some folks need help through the entire process, not just the start of the application. So, I don't know what kind of bandwidth that you have. I know much will fall on Ms. Gomez's shoulders, but, we should, I don't know what that process is, how people are getting stuck in the middle. I mean, do you have any, thought about that or insight on that?
At the beginning, the county's rental assistance program was targeting the most vulnerable population, so households that were extremely low income. So as they process applications, people who are higher income were being left behind. So that accounts for some of the lag as they were trying to target the most vulnerable population. I do know that the county has been implementing this process incrementally. So they have since hired organizations to help individuals with the application process. So the idea is that we would see some improvement in the system. And the state has also implemented some requirements for the rental assistance providers that they provide more detailed information as to the status of the applications. So I'm expecting that we will also see more detailed status updates for individuals who have applied for the program, but we haven't seen any of those changes yet. But we're definitely monitoring them and trying to help people where we can. And as you mentioned, Deanna it's definitely helped individuals who needed assistance getting the application started and also requesting follow-up on the application. But to your point, the response that they're receiving has been very vague in terms of the where their application is in the process.
No. And last question, do landlords or, property managers, I mean, is there can they see where the applications are in the process? I mean, do they have access to like a master database where they're sort of tracking, where their tenants are in this, or?
Don't believe that's publicly available. The responses that we've seen have just said the application has been submitted and is under review, and that is at the last time we checked, that's what we saw.
Yeah,
but we're expecting more detailed information later.
Yeah, and the people who do apply and are successful, it's great. I mean, and so, I did get that feedback also. So, okay. That's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Christina, for your report. Help me understand, once the state moratorium lifts at the end of this month, what's like a typical scenario if someone is going to be evicted? Tell me like the timeline. I'm just trying to be more familiar with the process.
So people who would be at risk of eviction at the end of the month would be individuals who did not pay rent and did not have a COVID related reason for not paying the rent. So those individuals would be at risk of eviction. Anyone who cannot pay rent for the month of October. The prior months, if they have a COVID-related non-payment, they have the protections that if they paid 25% of their rent, that the landlord can recover those costs through small claims court. So that really greatly reduces the pool of individuals who would be eligible for eviction. So we're really looking at individuals going forward. And I guess an important point is that individuals going forward who are not eligible for rental assistance. So those would be people who are higher income, because the ones who are eligible for rental assistance could apply for rental assistance to cover their rent for that month.
Okay, and then the COVID related reason, is that something that would have had to been communicated to the landlord prior to September 30th, like some type of documentation?
Correct. So the landlord would have had to issue the tenant a notice of a notice to pay or quit. They were given a 15-day notice, and the tenant could have responded to that by paying the rent or submitting the hardship notice back to the landlord. So that was a requirement that the landlord have to disclose that option to the tenant, and then the tenant would have the ability to respond with the COVID-related documentation.
Okay. And let's say hypothetically, someone did or did not have the COVID reason prior to September 30th. They didn't pay their rent for October. They get a notice in November. Does that notice by law through our rent stabilization ordinance or any ordinance that we have under the city of Hayward, do we require the landlord to offer the information of mediation in that notice? Is that automatic, that option is provided to the tenant?
No, so that information is not required that the landlord notify the tenant of their ability to request mediation from the city. The landlord does have to notify their tenant of their ability to apply for rental assistance. And if the landlord knows that the tenant would be eligible for it, the landlord would have to initiate the rental assistance application.
The landlord would, okay. What happens, I guess I know the answer, but if there's a tenant that refuses to cooperate with the rental assistance, then obviously that would give the landlord cause to move forward with the eviction.
Correct.
Okay. And I don't know if you could answer this now, but when we do revisit the rent stabilization ordinance, that is something I'm interested in doing and ensuring that the option for mediation, since it's something we're paying for and offering to our community, I think that is only right and fair that the tenants are informed by the landlord that they have that option. So I'd like to see that moving forward. And then in addition to the outreach efforts, I appreciate all the community events. That's a lot given COVID. I really appreciate that outreach, and nice to hear that you're not letting up. There's more to come. I would like to see us do a specific Haystack newsletter, possibly English, Spanish, Cantonese, Vietnamese are like 3 to 4 most popular languages, to get that information out to the public and encouraging. I don't know this for sure, but I'm presuming most of the people that subscribe to the newsletter tend to be homeowners. So encouraging them to forward it to renters, make sure that we get it to all of our nonprofits to forward to their constituents, their service providers, but also want to see outreach efforts, if it's not already being done, at all of our local churches, faith-based communities, and also ethnic grocery stores and dry cleaners. So if we could get flyers, offer information, brochures at those locations, I think that is going to be the best way to target the people that aren't paying attention to these meetings. That's the group we really need to get to. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Armeno.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Cristina Morales. Appreciate all this information. My colleagues, Marquez's point of going out to the community is a very good one. Whether it's Arteaga's Market or Safeway or Lucky's or Cardenas, some kind of a sign. Also, you're okay with sharing your phone number of your office so that folks who have a problem, they can I mean, I give them your phone number, but I don't know if you want to do it on, online. I think it's something that could be appreciated, because I get many calls. Can you help me? I don't have rent. Is there a problem? What can I do? Who can I go? So I send them to the Alameda Housing Authority, I send La Raza, the legal services, and I send them to your office. So in the future, you may want to maybe join share your phone with us. Now, so just to be clear, 9:30 comes, and the only way that a homeowner can get money from his or her tenant is through small claim courts, if there are certain parameters, correct?
Correct. So if the tenant met the requirements under the state legislation.
Right. Okay. Do you have a feeling that we may become inundated on October the 1st and 2nd from tenants who all of a sudden are panicked because they're receiving a notice that they're going to be taken to court for small claim court, and they don't know what that is? You feel that that's coming on? Is that going to be a small little tempest for us?
There might be calls, an influx of calls. I think the date for being able to submit to small claims court might be November. So I know that we have a little more time. There's some lag time between the end of the moratorium and the ability to file in small claims court. And I believe that starts in November. But yeah, I do believe we would need to be prepared for an increase of calls.
Right. And then if you have a flyer, a lot of folks don't know what small claims court is. And I think we want to ensure that we explain to folks what it is and what is entailed. So that's something that's important. I like this EPLL, and I'm hoping, and I'm glad that you're working with it, because it is important to reach out to everyone, as many as we can, to ensure that people don't feel like I'm about to lose my home, I'm going to be homeless, and it's just not right. I have a couple of friends who tell me that they're one check away from becoming homeless. So we want to make sure that we protect them also. Let's see. So the outreach and education, yes, excellent. Let's see. We have the number of homes in foreclosure is 21. I wish it were 0, but unfortunately, that's so. Do we know exactly who they are, and can we help out at this point? Can we help them out, or is it too late?
So the individuals who've received a notice of default, there's still time to intervene. So we can send information to individuals who've received notice of default and give them information about the assistance that the city has available.
Because I like what you've done in telling people of the resources and the protections that they have. That's extremely important. And folks are worried about COVID. They're worried about a job. They're worried about a meal. They really aren't worried. They really don't have that much time to research all of this material. And if we can hand it to them, that's much, much better. Make sure to do the mailers. Not all of them have a computer. You've done a very good job, and I thank you and your staff. So please keep it up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Wahab.
Thank you. I'm always very happy with our housing department and the staff there. So kudos to our assistant city manager, Ott, and definitely you, Ms. Morales, for all the work that you guys have done around housing in general. I know that we have already seen this part of the homeless and housing task force, but I did want to kind of highlight some of the needs. I know that we're looking at quarterly data reports from the county. Are we able to increase that frequency?
For the evictions or the foreclosures?
Both.
So we pay a service to provide the data on foreclosures. So we could pull that at the frequency that we choose. And we'll probably be able to do it monthly as we're monitoring it. And the eviction data that we will be receiving for the court, we are intending to get the data on a quarterly basis because of the amount of work that it is to do it's basically the equivalent of a public information request to obtain the data from the courts. We can look into it and see if it's not too much work.
Okay. I would recommend that we do it more frequently because I know that there are individuals that are looking to be able to push people out. And at the same time, let's say small claims court, as well as this entire process, sometimes harder to navigate for many people, right? So I do think that it's best that we kind of take a look at the data sooner. And if there is a trend that we see within our city, that we need to kind of act more quicker as well. I do want to ask, okay, so to highlight the COVID response and they need a reason around COVID, we made that process incredibly, I'm going to say easy. And if there is a dispute, obviously we pay for the binding mitigation process, correct?
If correct, they can access our mediation services to kind of determine what is to come to an agreement on a repayment plan. Eventually, if there is a dispute on whether or not it was a COVID-related non-payment of rent, the courts would make that determination if it goes to eviction. If it goes through small claims court, then that, once again, that would be evaluated by the judge on that case.
Okay, and this encompasses both job loss because of the shelter in place, as well as, potentially somebody getting COVID.
Correct. An increase in expenses, unable to work because of lack of childcare or needing to care for children. There's a broad range of COVID-related reasons.
Okay. And then one of the things I know I've mentioned this multiple times over the course of the last, several months, foreclosures are a priority for our city, just because one, we are trying to push so many people to become homeowners, but number two, it's also retaining that that asset that does build intergenerational wealth. One of the things I do want to ask, because a lot of the homeowners / property owners are actually very curious as to what is the additional steps that the city is potentially projecting that they will be engaging with. I know we talked about it on the task force, but would you be able to highlight some of that as well?
The additional steps to protect homeowners. For what we've currently implemented is we have foreclosure prevention counseling currently available through A1 Housing Counseling. We are going to expand that to work with an organization that could do further counseling efforts to see if they can negotiate a modification agreement with the lenders. And if not, the city would provide financial assistance that would help to cover the delinquency in order to modify the loan terms if necessary, or just to be able to keep the current loan that they have and bring them current. And in addition to that, what we've recently discovered is that the state is developing a program for individuals who are unable to pay their mortgage. And it looks like, based on the preliminary information, that they would be providing a substantial financial assistance to individuals who are delinquent related to COVID. So it looks like the community homeowners will have additional resource to access with the state. And we would evaluate our program with the states to see how we can best see if we need to supplement the program, or if we need to really focus more on getting the documentation that the homeowners would need to prove that they were unable to secure a loan modification, so that they then become eligible for the state funds. So we're going to monitor that and work that out so that we can leverage the maximum amount of money for Hayward residents as possible through the state.
And projection wise, we may see that in the next month or 2 months or so.
We're expecting to have the city's program online by the early of 2022. We expect to finalize the contract sometime in October, early November. And then we have to see with the consultant, we just received their proposal, what they see their implementation schedule would be to bring the program online. And we, of course, would, because of the urgency, pressure them to get the program up and running quickly.
Perfect. And then I know that this is going to require a lot of collaboration. One, I do want us to reach out and proactively reach out to, I'm going to say shockingly, the Rental Housing Association, because just recently I did have a conversation, and I think that there is a slight disconnect. So if we can make sure that we're engaging them, our Chamber of Commerce, as well as the realtors in particular, just to ensure that those individuals that are not only property owners, but landlords, and they have the appropriate information. And then as far as transparency, in addition to this request, it's also something that I think is important, is making sure, to Councilmember Marquez's point of, the newsletter. I think we may have all received something about we're not doing enough newsletters, and specifically on these big ticket items, when people are talking about housing and so forth, we do need to kind of just up our communications as well as social media. But one of the things I did want to say is that because this is difficult to navigate, and making it very clear foreclosure versus rental assistance and evictions and so forth like that, but also having, I would say a slight infographic, or this is your first step. This is normally what happens second step. This normally happens in third step. Obviously, each case is very different. And these are the resources that are potentially available to you. I do want to highlight that to Councilmember Zermeño's point, we most likely will get a lot of calls and emails. I know I normally direct them specifically to you and our assistant city manager. But if somebody needs hand-holding to navigate the process, I know we talk about the diversity in our community, but are we potentially able to have staff, and how much staff can actually walk people through the process? Or do we have a clear-cut process where they can kind of go to the website, say I need additional help or a resource or something like that? Have we talked about the safety nets for support?
So we have two primary contacts for answering our rent adjustment program, or sorry, rent stabilization program line. And so they provide, they've been providing all the support for COVID relief as well related to rental housing. One of the individuals speaks Spanish, and we have a third person who helps to back up those two people in the event that somebody needs to, they're on their lunch. So our front counter is always staffed. And our phone is answered by multiple people. So our main line, it can be answered by any one of those people who have information. I also have that phone number on my computer. So we have the additional backup in the event that we have too many calls. So we have multiple people who answer our main line. So that really is the best point of contact, because as I get distracted with meetings, I'm unable to answer them. But our main phone number, and also we have a email address for housing. So housing@hayward-ca.gov, which also is staffed by multiple staff members. So we make sure that as a team, we answer all of the questions that come in and escalate any questions that may need additional assistance.
Perfect. If we can also get Chuck's team to kind of do social media around that as well, so we can not inundate you directly with our emails, but, direct them to a specific line. One of the other things I do want to mention is that we have multiple different faith centers. We have a Sikh Gurdwara, 5 mosques. We also need to reach out to those communities in particular. So maybe dropping some literature at these places of faith centers, if you will. I think the more that we can kind of hit all our targets. I would also like to highlight 2 things as my final comment. Number one is our senior homeless population, by a lot of studies across the nation, is expected to triple in the next 10 years. I am very concerned about that. So any senior housing project that we have, any senior complex that we have, let's say more seniors, to prioritize them in a way where we can at least make sure that they have the information they need. Our mobile home parks, as well as part 2 is the fact that, we have a significant community of Black and Brown people. And we know that in the Great Recession, a huge chunk of our Black community were pushed out in the number of years during the Great Recession. So making sure that we reach out to a significant amount of our diverse community as much as possible. So those are my comments, and I appreciate the hard work that you guys have done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for all your hard work on this presentation and helping our community. And I had a quick question regarding housing is key. I saw a commercial for that this week and wanted to see how that program fits within this presentation. I guess it's a state reimbursement program. And I don't know if that's the same as what you presented, or is it an additional program available for rental assistance and for landlords and renters?
So the Housing is Key is the main state portal for all housing protections and COVID-related protections. So it has basic tenant landlord rights and responsibilities on the website. Right now, they're predominantly highlighting the rental assistance. And Alameda County chose to administer the rental assistance program that they received directly from the federal government and the allocation from the state. So Hayward residents would apply through Alameda County and not through the Housing is Key portal. But if they are on the Housing is Key portal, it will refer them to the Alameda County program.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification, because I was confused when I saw that commercial. Thank you for my colleagues for mentioning all those great locations for providing information. And I didn't hear this one. And if you did, I apologize for repeating, but Southland Mall, there's a lot of people who walk through there, a lot of people who work there. If we can get an ad or some kind of agreement with the mall, just because that is a great location to get information out, I would recommend that. And NAACP, those types of organizations would also be really helpful to have that information on hand. And one of the things that I remember from last week's conversation with HUSD was there were a couple of people who commented that there were people experiencing homelessness in the school system. So I don't know if there's something we can do with Peachtree to get the information out as well. So those are a couple of things. I don't know if someone mentioned that already. I apologize again if I'm repeating. And I agree with colleagues who mentioned social media and having a short URL. If we can also do a QR code, just something that easily links for some folks where they don't have to necessarily remember a website. And if we can have a really short website that's easy to retype. And that's just helpful for all our graphics. It's really helpful, but I think that would help get the word out to get the information out quicker. So thank you again for all your hard work and continue to work on this issue.
Okay, thank you. I don't see other hands raised. Okay, I'll just echo what a lot of my colleagues have said here. First of all, great work. I think, I was a little leery when we're not recommending continuing the moratorium, but at some point, yes, you do have to move into the next phase of all of this. And I think you guys have done an outstanding job of creating a safety net for people who are still, not able to catch up and to come out of this without being out on the street. I would really echo what a lot of people have made suggestions here tonight about, other places. I'm looking at the partners. Again, partnership is key in everything, and especially I think in this effort. So I'm not sure if places like well, first of all, Hayward Promise Neighborhood, which I know Councilmember Salinas seemed opened up the comments and seemed to have a lot of knowledge about what was going on. So I'm wondering if that is through your affiliation with Hayward Promise Neighborhood. Yeah, I'm seeing him nod. Yes. So that was one I thought of as a great, the promotores who are out there really ought to have, this information so they can pass it on. The South Hayward Parish, Tiburcio. I think Councilmember Wahab mentioned the rental housing and realtors, all of on the landlord side. So just doing as much as we can, and it sounds like you are doing a lot to get the word out there. And I assume, with everything, we have ability to translate things on our website into other languages besides Spanish and English. But I am concerned we have a lot of languages spoken in Hayward, and how we're making sure that we can get this information out to people who speak something other than English or Spanish.
So we do have a feature.
Google Translate.
Yeah, our website is HTML format, which allows you to use Google, and we have a Google Translate button, so you can pick whichever language. So as long as there's not a PDF document on the website, that's why the website is the way it's formatted, the way it is. So it's in the HTML. So all of that text can be translated to all of the languages that Google Translate has available.
Okay. So we need for everybody to know that so they can direct people who may need one of those other languages. I was interested in the eviction prevention learning lab. I thought that was intriguing. Do you want to make any more comments about how we're learning from that, or
yes,
what we're learning from that?
So the city of Hayward was selected by the National League of Cities to participate in the eviction prevention learning lab. So it is I don't know how many cities are participating in it, but we have regular meetings to talk about different topics that will help to prevent eviction. Our focus is on improving education and outreach. So those are the two elements we're focusing our effort on. And so we are able not only to meet with the group regularly and receive the information about the resources, but we're also have access to technical assistance. So we have access to facets of the program. One is we're participating in the housing loss data tool, where initially we thought we were only going to be able to map the data for the termination notices that we received. But with the recent contact with the Alameda County Superior Court, we're actually going to be able to map on a zip code level data related to eviction. So we'll start being able to see the eviction activity, and as was mentioned by some of the council members, if there's concentrations in some areas versus other. Unfortunately, they can't provide the data on an address level, but it will give us an idea if certain zip codes have a higher concentration of evictions than others. Additionally, we reached out to them for technical assistance on kind of developing an outreach plan in the context of the eviction moratoria expiring, and then what can we do to help support the community. So other information we received is how do we activate the courts and get them to provide proactive information to tenants that are experiencing evictions through the process. It's not information we have control over, but at least we were able to start the dialogue with the court system and be able to talk to them and share those resources, and also share, if they're interested, we reached out to them but don't have a response, provide some of that technical assistance if they need materials developed to facilitate this activation.
Great. I think code enforcement was mentioned at some point in the staff report, I believe, and I think that's a really important element here. And I think one that we really need to, your department needs to work with code enforcement and have on your radar problem areas, potentially problem rental developments, problem landlords, I hate to say, but I've received some queries in the last during this whole time about okay, if we that seem to say to me some hopefully a very small minority of landlords maybe have the opinion if we can't evict them, we'll get them out some other way, and I think that's outrageous. I've actually heard a couple of outrageous stories, and I have a feeling that may be. I'm not hearing anywhere near the extent of what may be actually happening in some, hopefully not a large number of our rental properties. And so I think this is where code enforcement really needs to be a partner in not just making sure things are fixed when they need to be fixed, but kind of keeping their ears open for stories that may lead to further investigation.
We've been partnering closely with code enforcement since the enactment of the tenant relocation assistance program because of this crossover that you've indicated, where there may be instances where somebody has to vacate a unit because it's not habitable. And so we have also been doing cross training between code enforcement and the housing staff so that the code enforcement staff are aware of the tenant's rights and landlord responsibility under the city's ordinance, and also so that we have a clear understanding of the code enforcement process. So we've definitely been working on improving that relationship and that communication so that anybody who may experience displacement related to code enforcement, we can create a soft landing for them through the tenant relocation assistance, and also through our partnerships with Eden Housing, trying to get them priority placement if they're income eligible for affordable housing.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. Otherwise, I think a great job on this. I fully support the program, and thank you for all the work that you and your staff and everyone has put into this. And with that, if there are no other council questions or comments on this item, it is a work session item, so we can just move on and I think all of us are much better educated now, and hopefully we'll be able to answer the questions we get ourselves to a little better, or refer them to Christina and her phone number. So with that, we're going to go ahead. And as I said earlier, item number 14 regarding the Missions Crossings development has been continued to next week, September 28th. So we will not be hearing that item this evening. And we'll move on to item number 15, which is an item regarding the League of California Cities annual conference resolutions. We are being asked to adopt positions supporting resolutions and proposed amendments to the League of California Cities bylaws. And those decisions will be made later this week at the 2021 League of California Cities annual business meeting. And we're going to hear from Assistant City Manager Ott on this one.
Great. Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm going to share my screen. I have a short PowerPoint for you and walk through each of the items. And I have Finance Director Clausen here to help on the sales tax reso if there's some questions as well. Great. Can everyone see that? Great.
Yes.
So as was already mentioned, we're here prior to the certain council members attending the League of California Cities conference this weekend. There are some resolutions that we want to get the full council's direction on support. And so we'll walk through each of those items that are being considered. The League of California Cities annual conference will be held in Sacramento starting tomorrow through the week. And there was a mistake in the staff report. I do want to correct that the delegate is the voting delegate will be Mayor Holliday with an alternate of Councilmember Salinas, and the staff report had Councilmember Salinas and the alternate being Councilmember Marquez. So I just want to correct that. I apologize for that. And we will have Mayor Holliday, Councilmember Salinas, and Councilmember Zermania who will be attending the conference. The first, Councilmember Lamine, do you want me to stop presenting, or do you want to?
Just wanted to add that I'll be there as well. Thank you.
Will. Okay, sorry about that. So the first resolution for consideration is regarding sales tax. There was kind of a change in ownership status, although it doesn't say who it is Amazon. And the change in the way that they kind of document their ownership status from a third-party vendor, which I'll talk about in a little bit, to kind of a direct owner or primary retailer company owning the fulfillment centers. And that has shifted the way the sales tax in the state then gets pooled and shared. And so this first resolution is really being led by the city of Rancho Cucamonga, calling for the state legislature to pass legislation that provides for a fair and equitable distribution of that sales tax, because there are most cities that don't have fulfillment centers that will lose sales tax and have an adverse impact on their financial situation. And so that is this first resolution. Just to kind of quickly go over, there's a lot of information in the packet, but the 1% local sales tax is distributed in different ways depending on how the ownership of the entity that kind of logs that sales tax. And so if it's owned by a third-party vendor, which Amazon used to be, then the sales tax from online purchases are allocated to a countywide pool and then shared. Recently, Amazon changed their status to a company retailer, which then changed the way that the sales tax is allocated. And then it's actually directed towards the sales tax is then allocated to the jurisdiction where the fulfillment center is located. So obviously there's very few of these fulfillment centers, statewide. And because of that, there's kind of this windfall for those cities. And then there's a loss of, I think what the numbers they say is 90% of the cities will kind of lose sales tax because of this shift in the way that Amazon is kind of documenting its ownership status. That said, there's an acknowledgement you'll see in the resolution that's clear that, there should be some accounting for the fact that there are impacts, environmental traffic impacts related to where the fulfillment centers are located. but that overall the state, kind of an urging of the state legislature to look at how this is allocated in a more fair and equitable way to try to mitigate those impacts to the 90% of the cities that don't have fulfillment centers. There were a couple of letters that were also provided to us that we wanted to share with you. There's the city of Eastvale that is a home to a fulfillment center that is requesting modifications to the sales tax reso. And really what they're suggesting is that we shouldn't kind of let the state legislature decide, that there should be we should all come up with a plan first and then go to the state legislature, that we should kind of hash it out among the cities. There was also a letter of the city of Rancho Cucamonga in support of the league sales tax resolution. And they're really the ones that are kind of driving this, but without any modifications. There's also a number of other cities that have submitted letters of support as part of the packet. We didn't, that was provided by the league. We didn't necessarily attach those individually. I think overall the city supports the resolution as is without any modifications. We do think that it makes sense to, given this kind of disparate kind of way that it's that kind of change that seems kind of innocuous, but then has ended up having huge impacts on a lot of cities, that we should work with the state legislature to have a more fair and equitable distribution of that and come up with a solution to that. And so it is broad, but I think we know that the league is very active, and we know the league will continue to work with the state legislature on figuring this out and making sure it's representative of cities' needs. So staff is recommending to support the resolution without any modifications. I'm going to go through this and we can go back if you'd like. I'll go through the rest of these. This one's a little more straightforward in that I think we have experiences very much in Hayward where this resolution is calling upon the governor and the legislature to actually provide funding to the California Public Utilities Commission to better fulfill its obligation really to inspect the railroad lines and Union Pacific, and to ensure that they are addressing illegal dumping, graffiti, homeless encampments. We've experienced those issues firsthand. We've been very proactive about trying to address these issues with Union Pacific. And all the time that we've done that, we've heard over and over again, Union Pacific say that they don't have any resources. CPUC has said the same thing to us. There's numbers in the packet that say 6,000 miles of railroad lines and only 41 inspectors. So really not enough resources to do a good job in keeping these rail lines safe. The other issue that they don't mention here, but that we've kind of brought in is just the water quality issues, because a lot of these rail lines intersect with waterways that drain into the bay. And so there's all kinds of their environmental impacts as well. Again, this just kind of goes over what I've already said, but that the CPUC, just given their resources, aren't able to really actively address these issues. They do look at very specific safety issues, but not the kind of broader safety issues that we're talking about here. And so this resolution, we do strongly support that as well, to really try to provide additional resources to address these issues. And we've had to kind of go at it on our own, and this would allow CPUC to step up their efforts to do more at a kind of statewide level. There's also some proposed amendments to the bylaws. They were detailed in the packet, but really you can see some of them are technical corrections or updating the moniker, but the others are really focused, you'll see, on kind of trying to be more representative, have a higher impact in terms of diversity, and actually providing making sure the bylaws address the diversity caucuses that are in the and include those in the bylaws, as well as adjusting the composition of the board to include the directors from each of those diversity caucuses. And so those we're also recommending that the council supports. And we're here for questions. Happy to answer any questions or listen to any comments. Let me stop sharing my screen, Mayor.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that? But I do see that we have a question from Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. And I had a quick question about the cleanups on the railroads. I'm happy to hear that that's happening, but has the Cal Cities also discussed freeways and what we can do more for freeways as well? Because we do see a lot of debris on freeways and it travels, and we're also seeing fires on our freeways as well. So I just wanted to know if that was a point of discussion.
Yeah, I didn't hear that as part of this item or see that. I mean, Caltrans is really outside of the jurisdiction of the California Public Utility Commission.
Okay.
But I know anecdotally, and I've seen in some areas that Caltrans is taking a more proactive approach about addressing some of those issues. But I think, and we have our contacts that we try to use those contacts to help in Hayward, but we can pass that along. I don't know about the league, what role they might play, but it is something that we could look into. From our state legislative advocates, we could talk to them about doing something more there. But I do think they're taking a more proactive approach, and that's what I've heard from other jurisdictions.
Wasn't there a very large appropriation, maybe as part of the governor's the surplus budget? Or I do think there was some significant money put out there to beautify. To do that very thing, and specifically with Caltrans and their properties. Am I remembering that correctly, or
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can look that up.
Yeah, no, I
think it was part of the governor's budget. I remember a big press conference about him allocating a whole bunch of funds for homeless camp cleanup. So we should definitely talk with. We should
definitely be going through our lobbyists, our representatives in Sacramento, and directly to Caltrans, I guess, to seek money for those areas. And I know there are plenty. So.
And then I have one last question about the Amazon. Quick question about, are they seeing this as a way to apply pressure for cities to have fulfillment centers? And so I just wanted to hear a little bit more about what is that like a strategy that they're trying to do?
So Amazon. So I think the question is whether or not Amazon changed its ownership status in order to kind of create a better incentive for cities to allow them to locate. I hadn't heard that. It certainly that makes sense, but I hadn't heard that directly. I don't know if Dustin, you had heard that.
I haven't heard that, but you could certainly speculate as much. I think the other is it's much easier to maintain tax compliance if you're only paying it in a few jurisdictions versus across the state and trying to navigate all of the locals' tax measures, et cetera. So, I think there's some motivation for them, although, I don't know if the consequences were truly intended to come out the way that they have, but certainly here we are today.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other, let's see, council members Armenia, questions? We'll open public comment after that.
Is there anyone here who believes that the railroad people have no money?
Raise your hands if you believe the railroad people have no money. I don't see any hands going on.
Okay. I have a second question. Is there anyone here who believes that the CPU has no money?
You mean the CPUC?
Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah. So I'm not sympathetic at all. Thank you, Jennifer. As always, thank you very much. Good job.
Okay.
And something has come up, and I will not be able to attend the Sacramento League of Cities event. Okay. So have a good time, Sarah. I'm a colleague Lamlin, colleague Holiday, and colleague Salinas. Thanks.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. I'm going to open public comment on this item to see if there is any. And I am not seeing any hands raised from the public. Madam City Clerk, no, nobody on your side. So,
no, Madam Mayor.
Once, twice. Okay, I'm going to close public comment on this item, go back to council. I think our Madam City Manager, did you have something?
Sorry, I just wanted to make a small announcement, just because I hadn't let the council know this. I will be at the meeting tomorrow because I was elected to the state executive board of the City Managers Department for the League of California Cities for I think it's a 2-year or 3-year term. So I will be installed tomorrow morning, and I'll be in Sacramento tomorrow. So just wanted to let everyone know that.
And then you will be involved in carrying out whatever it is when we vote on these resolutions. So that's good to know. Thank you for sharing that. And okay, Councilmember Marquez.
Mayor, I'm happy to move the item supporting staff's position on the two resolutions. And thank you to Assistant City Manager for that clarification. Unfortunately, I will not be attending. So I believe our mayor and Councilmember Salinas are.
Second, and congratulations to our city manager.
Yes, congratulations, Kelly.
Okay. I just wanted to add that on the fulfillment center, the online sales. I also am a member of the League's Revenue and Taxation Policy Committee, which met last week on just this resolution, not on the other one that was in the purview of another committee. But in our committee, I believe it was Rancho Cucamonga who has been leading this effort, but an amendment was actually suggested that it changed the resolution from saying when a call on the legislature to pass legislation about this issue, to amending the motion to say that the asking the legislature to work with the California League of Cities on this issue, thinking that the League of Cities is a place where the interests of all cities can be discussed and examined very well. So it was I think a relatively minor change. And I don't know what the resolution that comes out of it'll go through the resolutions committee at the League, and then I think to the board probably, and then it'll come back to the voting delegates on this Friday. So I'm not sure what the final resolution is going to look like. I am prepared to support it based on if we have this vote tonight, and I'm directed to do that by council. I did support that motion as a member of the Revenue and Taxation Policy Committee, and I do hope the council will direct me to support that resolution in particular. I'd just like to add that I think on resolution 2 with the cleanup of the railroad properties and authorizing the CPUC. I mean, the CPUC may have money to do the various enforcement roles that they have, but it can't hurt to have more to go after the railroads to do what they, all of us want them to do. I think that's absolutely a no-brainer that we would want to support this resolution and put a little more pressure on the railroads through the CPUC, hopefully. And regarding the changes in the bylaws, I do think that, giving the, what are we calling the diversity
caucuses
of the League more say on the board and in the organization is absolutely in line with our Hayward values. So I thank you for the motion to support these positions. Councilmember Marquez, seconded by Councilmember Cermeño, right? Yeah. Okay. And on that, I will ask Madam City Clerk if you will please call the roll for that vote.
Ask a quick clarifying question.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Do you need any additional authority to support the motion with amendments? As long as the intent is still what council votes for, whatever that may be.
I don't think so, because I think that I don't think that it will be if it's changed so much that it's like the opposite of what it says, then I would probably think that is not what this council would want me to do. So so at some point you actually do maybe have to leave it a little bit to the discretion of the person who's on the spot voting, because things do get slightly changed. But I think I heard enough to know what the general desire of our council is in this regard. I mean, we are a city that, is, we've had some applications that haven't quite come all the way to us yet, but are out there, and, we're grappling with these issues ourselves. So, thanks for asking. But unless somebody wants to say something I'm just going to assume that in general, they're supportive, even if the resolution was changed to what the Rev and Tax Committee, saying work with the League to, to develop this legislation. Any impetus the legislature needs to do this is going to be welcome. So, I did have a question, though, I wanted to ask if anybody on staff knows, and that is that there has been a step taken already in the legislature through a bill by Senator Glazer that would, it was something 792, which I understand did pass both parts of the legislature, and is now on the governor's desk. And so I don't know if he's signed it yet. He hasn't had a lot of time since Tuesday, probably, to get back to that signing. And that actually would start that process of gathering the data. So you don't happen to know, do you, whether that bill has been signed yet? Yeah, I do hope the governor does sign that, because that's just a step in gathering the data that would be needed to analyze all this. All right. So with that, on the motion on all three of these issues, the resolution 1 and 2 and the bylaws change, that was included, correct, in the motion. And I'll ask Madam City Clerk to call the roll for the vote.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Andrews.
Aye.
Councilmember Lamnin.
Aye.
Councilmember Marquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas.
We'll give them hell. Yes.
Councilmember Wahab.
Yes.
Cermeño.
Aye.
Mayor Halliday.
Yes, and the motion carries with 7 aye votes. Thank you all, and we'll report back next week after we go to the conference on what happened. So with that, we're going to move on to item number 16, which is adoption of a resolution welcoming and calling for support of Afghan refugees that may resettle in Hayward and the greater Bay Area. I want to thank Council members Wahab, Andrews, and Marquez for bringing this forward, and turn it over to I'll go to Council member Wahab first. If you want to say anything about this resolution.
Definitely. I will turn it over to our city manager and staff first, so they can just provide everybody an update of the efforts thus far.
Thank you, Councilmember Wahab. And I just, again, want to thank you for your leadership on asking staff to sort of help prepare and to support our Afghan community here and new arrivals that are likely to arrive here. It is interesting. I've been reading and listening. My brother is stationed at a military base in Germany that has been receiving refugees from Afghanistan. And in Germany, they can stay there for a month for processing, but there's also, I can't remember which Eastern European country, but they're letting them stay for a lot longer there. So it may take some time for processing before individuals actually arrive into the United States. So just some interesting time frame for all of this. We have convened a staff working group that has been coordinating with a variety of, and trying to really act as convener for a variety of nonprofits. As it was mentioned in the cover memo, we do have a website. If you Google or in our search on the homepage on our website, Afghan Relief, it'll take you to a resource page where we do have contact information and also a form for people to fill out if they need assistance or want to help volunteer. We've also been coordinating with the city of Fremont, since they already had a fund set up for Afghan to raise money, which I understand has now raised almost $250,000 to help with these efforts. And so really just coordinating and raising money together to partner and support the Afghan communities in the Tri-City and sort of South Bay area. And lastly, we've been working with Arzo Madavi and obviously Mayor Pro Tem Wahab and a number of other members of the Afghan community on supply drives, and have recently converted space in the Matt Jimenez Community Center, which has not been utilized to help that. There's been a lot of supplies donated, and that'll serve as a clearinghouse for those supplies many times when people arrive here. We've heard they get one night of hotel voucher before they have to find an alternate place to stay, and also to have basically left their homeland with nothing, really no supplies, no personal belongings. And so trying to provide the basic necessities. So I understand we will be doing some additional supply drives, but really using Matt Jimenez Community Center as a base for the storage. So I think those are kind of the key efforts that we're working on right now, and continuing to talk with the county supervisors, trying to understand and get notice of when people are arriving in our community. I think that's our biggest concern, is that people will show up without resources and we won't know. And so we're trying to really push on our federal and state representatives to help us identify when that happens. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Councilmember Wahab.
Thank you. I do want to appreciate and thank my fellow colleagues for introducing this resolution, Councilmember Marquez and Councilmember Andrews. In particular, it's reinvigorating to our community, especially as 3 women of color sitting here, knowing that women, children, and brand new community to this country is going to be needing significant support. One of the reasons why this is incredibly important to coordinate efforts is that although the United States State Department has stated that California is too costly to live and housing costs and things like that, and are advocating that Afghans do not move here, the reality is that the Northern California / Bay Area is home to one of the largest Afghan diasporas in the world outside of Afghanistan. And with that said, to our city manager's point, we will be seeing individuals that are homeless. We will be seeing men, women, and children. And these are not small families. The average family size is roughly 4 to 6 kids. We are trying to coordinate efforts. I want to significantly give kudos to our staff, our city manager in particular, as well as her office. Many of them have reached out personally, from Zach, Daniel, Laurel, Mary, and the entire team. And if I'm forgetting anybody, I want our city manager to highlight them. Many of them have stated specifically that they understand the refugee crisis. They've actually, whether they're children of refugees or have, met, different community members, they have really stepped up. This is a humanitarian issue. This is not necessarily a citywide issue. However, because it affects and impacts our city, these Afghans, regardless of where they're placed in the United States, will be making their way to California and specifically the Bay Area. The city of Hayward is in a interesting position because, as I've mentioned in the past, there's 5 mosques, there's Afghan stores, Afghan teachers, Afghan students. The president of Chabot, as well as Hayward Unified, has already reached out saying, how else can we help? So this is significantly a coordinated effort. I also want to thank our assembly members, Alex Lee, as well as Bill Quirk, for introducing a statewide resolution similar to this one as well. That was introduced on September 7th. Our Congress members and so many others that have been trying to prioritize folks. Specifically, the Afghan community has been extremely heartbroken, especially our parents' generation. It's almost a cycle that has repeated itself for the last 50 years amongst Afghans. So the passage of this resolution is one to ensure that, people know that Afghans are welcome. We are literally named the heart of the Bay. That is our moniker, and we are leading in this effort. I do want to thank again staff for the coordination amongst our different resettlement agencies, the IRC, the Jewish Family Community Services, the Afghan Coalition, and so many of our supervisors that have also stepped up saying, how can we ensure that we get funding for housing in particular? And eventually even our labor groups have been reaching out to seeing how we can get them coordinated to jobs and apprenticeship programs and so forth. So I'm very excited and very hopeful for what the future has in store. And I welcome them as new Americans. And I just really, again, appreciate not only all my colleagues who have stepped up, the community members, the nonprofits, and the government agencies. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So with that, if there are no questions about this, I'm going to open public comment on this item. And we do have some. So Madam City Clerk, are you ready? We have the first speaker is identified as NG.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Nargis, and I'm an Afghan American. I just really want to express my sincerest gratitude and appreciation to this council. What you guys have done and how you guys have paved the way for other cities to do it is truly heartwarming and much appreciated. I particularly want to thank council members Wahab, Marquez, and Andrews for their resolutions for supporting Afghan arrivals. I'm proud that the city of Hayward is taking such proactive steps to ensure that the arrivals are met with support, and all the despair and hopelessness we Afghans have felt in the last month, our parents' generations for decades. It is beyond heartwarming to see our communities here rally together and develop ways to support our people. I ask each and every one of you to please continue leading by example, continue organizing, securing funds and resources. It is much, much needed. A very, very special thank you to Councilmember Wahab. Your endless efforts are much appreciated and will impact the lives of thousands of households. Thank you again to the entire Hayward City Council and city staff, managers, and everybody. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. Next, we have Mariam Fazli.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good evening, Madam Mayor and the respectable City Council of Hayward. My name is Mariam Fazli, and I am also an Afghan American born and raised here in the Bay Area. I'm a daughter of Afghan refugees who left Afghanistan in the early 80s due to the Soviet invasion. I wanted to take a moment and just express my gratitude to this council for giving me an opportunity to speak to this important topic that is impacting our community and that really needs our urgent attention. As you all already know, Hayward, Fremont area has a concentrated population of Afghans, and there will be incoming Afghan refugees that will desire to settle in this area. I want to thank this council's efforts for taking this humanitarian crisis very seriously and for making this initiative a priority for the city by supporting all efforts and initiatives in helping the incoming Afghan refugees. The incoming Afghan refugees will be arriving very scared, lost, confused, and traumatized by everything that they have endured, not only in the past month, but from a country standpoint, the past 40 to 50 years. Most of them will be arriving with just the clothes that they're wearing. The incoming Afghan refugees really need our help now more than ever, and timing and urgency is truly of the essence. We all recognize that this is going to take a community effort, but even more importantly, it will really need our city and county leaders' efforts and leadership as well. I appreciate so much this respectable council for helping with this humanitarian crisis and welcoming our incoming Afghan refugees. And I hope that you will continue supporting and approving any and all reasonable resources and resolutions being presented that the Afghan refugees will desperately need. I also would like to take this time to give a special thank you to respectable council member Mayor Pro Tem Wahab for her leadership and compassion to this cause and for supporting and empowering just people like me, that's just a private citizen, but feel obligated not only as an Afghan American, but as a human being to speak up on behalf of this humanitarian crisis and on behalf of the Afghan people. Madam Mayor and City Council, thank you very much for taking the time to hear me and for all your continued hard work. I respectfully yield my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Mo Hatef.
Thank you, Mayor and fellow City Council members, for all of your efforts. For those of you that might not remember me from the beginning of this meeting, my name is Mo Hatef, and I'm speaking as a Board of Director member on behalf of Afghan Coalition, a nonprofit organization in the Bay Area that works to strengthen refugee families locally by providing various social services. A little bit about the organization for those unaware. Afghan Coalition is the largest Afghan American organization in the United States, serving several hundred Afghan community members and families per year. We applaud the City of Hayward on this resolution, particularly Councilmember Wahab, welcoming and calling for support of Afghan refugees. Additionally, we encourage the continued efforts to work closely in a collaborative manner with the city, county, state, and federal level, and we welcome City of Hayward to continue to utilize and access our nonprofit organization to partner with and provide services to refugees arriving in Hayward. Thank you again, Mayor and the City Manager, for your many efforts, and we encourage all the City Council members to also participate if you haven't in welcoming Afghan refugees. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rona Popal.
Let's go ahead and unmute.
Rona?
Like we could come back.
Okay, we'll go to Layla Waziri.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor, and the council members for your support, and especially Councilmember Aisha Wahab. My name is Layla Waziri, and as someone whose parents came to the Bay Area as Afghan refugees with my two sisters, ages 3 and 5, I thank you for highlighting the importance that is needed with supporting Afghan refugees and allowing them to resettle in Hayward and the greater Bay Area and be provided with resources that allow for a seamless transition as they start their new life. This will not only positively affect our immediate families and youth arriving, but would also provide a substantial foundation for our community that will positively affect generations to come. It is our responsibility as Americans and active members of our society to ensure that the trauma of Afghan refugees is minimized and that we continue to empower our arriving Afghan refugees by providing essential resources. It was the collaborative response efforts from county, federal government, and the state of California that made it possible for my parents to start their own business, have access to continuing affordable housing, and ensure that my 4 siblings and I pursue post-secondary education and positively impact and contribute collectively to our thriving, diverse communities in the Bay Area. I thank you for your time and for your continued hard work. I yield my time.
Thank you. So now, Rona Popal, can we get her on?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. This is Rona Popal from Afghan Coalition. I really support this resolution. Thank you so much, City of Hayward, all the City Council members, and also Mayor for doing a good job to welcoming the Afghan refugees. And I'm looking forward to working together and welcoming the Afghan refugees. Thank you.
Thank you. And Hasia Delary.
Good evening, Mayor and the City Council members. My name is Hasia Delary, and I'm a long-term resident. Thank you for sharing space tonight. Thank you, Council members Wahab, Marquez, and Andrews. The community immensely appreciates your support in bringing the conversation of Afghan refugees resettling here in Northern California to the forefront of the conversation. Being that this is the largest community of Afghans in the nation, our Afghan refugees will certainly find their way here, for they will long for some sense of familiarity during their difficult resettlement. We have a moral responsibility to welcome our Afghan refugees. Many of the newly arrived Afghan refugees offered aid to the U.S. military and NGOs, and we should honor the commitment of the U.S. government and offer the space, assistance, and resources for them to resettle and rebuild their lives here. The immediate need is for housing, employment, and basic necessities, and we hope that we can continue to seek these resources for our community. This must be a collective impact, collaboration, and your support is needed. I stand with this resolution. Thank you to the City Council and the staff for all that you've already accomplished and for the incoming refugees, and I hope more will be done. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. And I don't see any other hands raised from the public. So I'm going to go ahead and close public comment on this item, go back to council, and I'll ask you, if Council Member Wahab would like to move the item, and if Council Members Marquez and Andrews would like to co-second it. Everyone agreeable to that?
Yes. I proudly move this resolution. And again, thank our city manager and staff for working so hard behind the scenes and continuing it. I know when I called our city manager and, being a well-traveled individual, she said, yes, let's figure out how we can do it. So I really appreciate the proactive response from our city. So I move this item very proudly. Thank you.
And I'll take the seconds from count. Yes, I see their hands are up, so I will take the second from those two and ask would you like to speak, Councilmember Marquez?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Wahab for your leadership. It was very inspiring. There was a rally, a gathering outside of City Hall probably about a month ago. I just want to acknowledge and appreciate staff for making it really easy for our community to gather at City Hall. It's really nice to see the community come together. Want to acknowledge the chair of the Community Services Commission, Arzo Madavi, and her family. I know they've been very outspoken. They've been organizing a lot of efforts to make sure that refugees feel welcomed. I'm wholeheartedly support this resolution. The more we could do to make people feel connected and welcome in our community, I support 100%. And this is something that's near and dear to my heart, as I had a childhood best friend when I was in 3rd and 4th grade. Her family's from Afghanistan, and I got to know their family and just see the beautiful pride in their culture and hear about their struggles. So it's sad that we're revisiting this yet again. And I can only imagine what the elders are going through and that trauma. So we just need to continue to be supportive of one another, reach out any type of assistance you could give financially, donate items, connect people to resources, but just want people to know that we can welcome these people. We will welcome them with open hearts and work collaboratively on a regional level to make sure that all of their unmet needs, we can help address them when they arrive. So thank you everyone for your efforts, especially staff for being so innovative and getting these programs launched and the information out to the public so quickly. So I'm happy to support the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. As a daughter of an immigrant myself and a family that have had to leave racist parts of the South in order to seek a better life in California, I see images of what happened in Afghanistan and what I see now in Texas. I don't ask why people come here. I ask what they're running from. So if me sending support through a resolution saying that you're welcome, then I'm all for it. I support it. And I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Wahab for bringing this forward and letting us be a part of this resolution. And I also want to thank the Madavi family for organizing and helping these families come here and feel welcomed. And thank you, staff, for all your hard work in getting this resolution together, but all the resources you're providing for families so they can feel like Hayward is their home. So thank you so much again for all your hard work. And thank you again, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading this effort.
I don't see any other hands raised at the moment. I'm going to just add my thanks to all three of you for this bringing this resolution. And we do have a strong Afghan community in Hayward, in the Bay Area here. We have, obviously Councilmember Wahab, Arzo Madavi, who is on our Community Services Commission, are just two of the many people of Afghan heritage who have been a very strong part of our city, our city fabric, our government, our social services, and
city staff too.
City staff, yes,
yeah.
And so it's absolutely appropriate. I know that shortly after, all of this started crashing down on the country of Afghanistan, I reached out to people from our sister city. We still have, I don't quite know what that relation is at the moment, but we do have a sister city in Afghanistan, Ghazni. And one of the more prominent leaders of that committee had a close relative, who was killed in the aftermath of, the end of this long-running war. And, we have done a lot through the Sister City Committee to raise money for a school in and also health facilities in Ghazni. So I don't know what is happening to those, but I know that there is strong support here in our community to help people. And I would say that money is absolutely important, and let's all contribute what we can to the effort. And I'm glad to hear that the fund is growing. In this situation, though, I think that people have been through a lot of trauma, and I do understand that that is true of a lot of immigrant groups. But it seems that we will be getting people coming here needing help, and I hope that in the time of COVID and shutdowns and distancing, it's a little bit hard, but to think of what more we can do beyond the physical needs of life to truly show that we welcome people as a community, and to somehow, make them know that we do welcome them, that they're a part, and that there are things here that they may want to participate in, something like that. So I hope we'll all be thinking, and I'd really welcome any ideas about how we might do that when we do start, seeing people coming to the area, to just really give a special welcome and, comforting reception to them. I do hope we can do that. And with that, I'm going to ask our city clerk to call the roll on the motion that was made by Councilmember Wahab and seconded by Council members Marquez and Andrews.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Andrews.
Aye.
Councilmember Lamnin.
Aye.
Councilmember Marquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wahab.
Yes.
Councilmember Cermeño.
Aye.
Mayor Halliday.
Yes, and the motion carries with 7 aye votes. And well, as important as this resolution is, and I'm glad that we just passed it, there's a lot more work to be done. And, we'll probably maybe be discussing some of these things later on. Later on in our season here, not tonight.
And thank you to everyone who voted yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for bringing it to us. So now that brings us to council reports and announcements. Any hands raised? No reports or announcements this evening from council members? Councilmember Lamnin.
Sure. I'll do the it's redistricting season announcement, just to remind folks that, for instance, tonight was the Alameda County's first public hearing to ensure that community members contribute their community of interest information. And the Alameda County Coalition for Fair Redistricting is happy to help make sure that your voice is heard in this process. We don't speak for you, but if you're not sure how to navigate the process, the coalition is there to help. So you can find out more at ALCO redistricting.org, or through the Alameda County redistricting website, or the state. Lots of organizations are doing redistricting right now. It is time to rebalance the lines. And in doing that, we want to make sure that communities are protected and are able to advocate together. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you. And thank you for your work on this issue and for, really strongly educating all of us about the issue, and that we need to pay some attention to it at this point. So I appreciate those efforts. I have an announcement to make. I'll keep this short, but around this time a year from now, we're going to be well into election season. And for the city of Hayward, I don't know whether there will be any ballot measures, but I know that we will be electing or re-electing 2 council members, and the mayor's seat is also up. And so I just wanted to take this opportunity to publicly announce what I've already shared with a number of people who have been asking lately, that I will not be a candidate for mayor in 2022. After, at that time, I will have served 18 years on this council, including the last 8 as mayor. And while being mayor of the city has been, and I know will always be, the greatest honor I've ever had in my life. Maybe not always the best time, but definitely the greatest honor. And I'm not done. I have more than a year now, and I fully intend to continue doing this job to the best of my ability until a new mayor is sworn in December of 2022. But I just wanted to, make it official in public that I won't be a candidate. And I absolutely know that there are a lot of people in the city, including the ones I'm looking at right now, who would do a great job in this seat as well. So thank you for that. That's all I have to say this evening on that. And if no one else has any announcements, we actually do have one other agenda item this evening. Sorry, I do see hands up. Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy for you, but saddened to hear about your announcement, but well deserved. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. I was hoping to go before you because my announcement is going to be completely off from what everybody else has announced, but I just wanted to share something simple and lighthearted. It's good to be back and see all of you virtually. This council works very, very hard. Some of us still worked really, really hard during the August recess. Some of us needed to reset, but it's really good to see everybody. And I know we have a lot of hard work ahead of us, so I'm excited to get back on board. But I just wanted to share just one little simple highlight. On Sunday, I actually spent some time at the Heritage Plaza, our park, and highly, highly recommend, if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, go to that park, take off your shoes, sit on the grass, and just look up at the beautiful trees. It's just really energizing, beautiful space. So really happy to see so many people out there enjoying it and just encouraging everyone to take care of themselves and take time to go out and do stuff in Hayward because we have a lot of beautiful amenities. So just want to encourage you to take off your shoes and sit on the grass and get your feet dirty. Thanks.
All right. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't expecting an announcement. I just wanted to say thank you for being a great mayor and always being so welcoming and warm whenever I saw you in the street, at Farmers Market, at Keep Hayward Clean and Green. Even before I was on in any of those commissions, you were always very nice when I approached you. So just want to thank you for that. I just wanted to also thank staff for organizing the 9/11 memorial. It was a very touching event, and I appreciate all the hard work that went into that. And then also just remind people that there is a art exhibit for at the City Hall from the Hayward Arts Council regarding an exhibit on the unhoused. And I think it's going to be open until October 4th. So I recommend people checking that out. And yeah, that's all I want to highlight today. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Andrews. And I'm not gone yet. And even after I'm not mayor anymore, I'm still going to be around. So, and also thank you for bringing up the 9/11. I would like to also thank staff for that event, as well as the Heritage Plaza. I mean, we've had a lot going on, since we've been gone, but one of them was the dedication of the marker acknowledging the Japanese internment during World War II and the fact that our city, and in fact Watkins Street itself, right on the edge of Heritage Park, was a place where people were Japanese citizens and residents of this area were told to go to report, to get on a bus and go to basically a camp. So check that out. It's right in the part of the park along Watkins Street, and there are other heritage markers that to come in the future. And I just want to thank everybody on staff involved in that process. And with that, we'll go to Councilmember Wahab.
Well, first, Mayor, I just want to say thank you for obviously the years of service. I want to make sure the public understands that. Granted, we're all just one vote, as you love to remind me, but the mayor also sits on countless meetings throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the weekends, you name it. She has to be briefed on pretty much anything and everything, and is definitely the leader of our city. So Juan, I just want to thank you. I know you've shared kind of some of your thoughts earlier with some of us. And I do just want to highlight that the mayor always, I personally love giving you a hard time. And at the same time, the mayor always asks, are you guys taking a vacation? Take a vacation. So she always reminds us to do things like that. So again, I just want to thank you for your leadership. I know that, we do have another year and a half to go. And at the same time, I'm sure that we celebrate all your work in a very blowout way. So thank you. And I look forward to continuing this next year and a half with you.
Thank you. And it wasn't as hard as you think, those hard times you gave me. And it's always good to have a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for those remarks. So, Councilmember Salinas.
Yeah, thank you. And I think your years of service to the city is absolutely incredible. We interact with a lot of other council members and electeds up and down the East Bay, and your years of service has certainly, has made an impact on not only what we do here in Hayward, but up and down the county and throughout the region. So thank you very much for your leadership and your service to the city of Hayward. And yes, you're not gone, and you'll still be around. So I look forward to that. I just wanted to thank staff, and I wanted to thank everybody involved with the 9/11 event. It was somber, it was quiet, and it was very thoughtful. It was, and maybe the park kind of lent itself to it, but it was good. I really appreciated the effort that it took, to put in there. And anyways, just a really nice event, and I just wanted to thank staff for organizing that. So thank you.
Okay, and Councilmember Zermino.
Mayor, thank you. I really wasn't expecting it. Somehow I was, but anyway. So you arrived here in 1978, and you've done a good job in these 42 years. There will be other opportunities to thanks. So for the moment, just muchas gracias, and let's make sure that we keep moving our city forward, whether you're on or not. So it's a day on, not off. And thank you, staff, for a good job too.
All right. And with that, we have one more item number 17. And this is a council referral regarding firearms sales regulations. I guess this is a referral that was brought to the council by myself and council members Lamnin and Andrews. I'll just say that I do, we all know the issue of guns in general in our country, and in our region is one that has gotten a lot of attention lately. And there are national organizations lobbying hard for better gun regulation at the national level. One of those is the Giffords organization, and I met with them a couple of months ago, some people from that organization, and it got me thinking that in the 17 years that I have been a member of this council, we have never had a full discussion at the council level about the status of our, of our laws and land use regulations regarding sales of guns and ammunition and gun weaponry, and I know that we do have very few, really counting on one hand, I believe, businesses in our community that deal guns, at least legally with permits. I don't know what else might be going on, but there were a whole bunch of issues that were brought up when I had that meeting with the people from the Giffords organization, one of them definitely has to do with the land use issues, which I know that we have some pretty strict requirements when it comes to alcohol, tobacco, cannabis now, and that I appreciate the information in the staff report about the status of those sales places, but there are other issues. There are issues around the storage of guns by people who own them in homes. We know that one of the leading tragedies that come from gun ownership is that they're used in a way that no one ever intended, including the gun owner, and people in their own household are, including sometimes tragically children who get access to a firearm and don't really know what they're holding or how to handle it, and someone gets hurt or killed in some cases. So there are a lot of recommendations out there about safe storage, regulations that could be put in place to ensure safe storage, and also, the responsibility of gun owners to protect their weapons, to keep them in a safe place, and to keep them from being used for illegal purposes. So I think what we're asking for in this referral is not immediate action. And I know in the staff report, it was pointed out that, we have a lot of things. And I think we all support the staff and the roadmap that has been laid out. But at this point, what we're asking for is a work session so we can discuss some of those things and give some direction about what we might like to see once we're able to clear some of the other stuff off of our plate and have enough staff time to move ahead, and where we would like that focus to be if we have the chance to do that. So that is what we're asking for support for tonight, just an initial work session so that we can all be brought up to date on what regulations we do have in our city in place right now, and where this council sees we might need some direction. I think in addition to, and I see Sarah Bowser has joined us, who basically has actually helped me out in advance of that meeting I had with the outlining what regulations are in place, and provided probably a lot of the information that's in the staff report. But I also think that the police department is a department that we should be looking to also for any insights they have in what we might do to make our city safer in the area of guns and firearms. So that's what we're asking. Either Councilmember Lamden or Wahab, do either of you want to add anything to that? Councilmember Lamden. See, Councilmember Andrews say no, but
okay.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I appreciate that, Mayor Halliday, and thank you for your leadership on this issue. And yes, we'll have lots of nice things to say about you over the next year and all of your years of service, but I'll hold those for tonight, other than what I just said. And the only thing I'd add to your great summary there was, I was thinking about this. There's also the session we did, I don't remember now if it was earlier this year or last year, where there were experts from the retail industry, the development industry, that kind of gave a sense to council of what was in play, what are the obstacles to housing development, what was the retail outlook looking like, et cetera. And I wonder if this, if a way to sort of balance workload and also council's expertise on this issue might be to bring in perhaps somebody from the Gifford, Gabby Giffords Association, somebody from the DA's office, so that it's not all, so that we're leveraging maybe some existing expertise. Just a thought.
It's a good thought, and one that, I think, we can discuss further when, if this referral is accepted by council and we do have, go on to have that work session. Councilmember Zermano?
I like it. I'm just wondering if we could add a component of a gun buyback program to it.
I think we actually have had those programs in the city, and that would be an element that we would probably want to discuss too.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Okay,
that's a good one.
And Councilmember Andrews.
Sorry, Mayor, I was confused because you called me, Mayor Pro Tem Rahab, but I don't think I was moved up to that possibly, but that's okay. I wanted to just acknowledge, it's all right. I just wanted to make sure,
Sometimes, it's time for you to go, right? When you start calling people by different names, that's not good. Sorry about that.
That's all. No, I just wanted to thank you for really leading this effort, and Councilmember Sarah Lamnon, and letting me be a part of this referral. I reached out to the city manager, letting her know that I want to do something to help out with gun reduction on our streets. And I know this work session won't solve all the problems that we have, but we need to, if we have a request for changes in our public safety and making our public safety be more reflective of what the community wants, we also need to help out on the other side of figuring out how do we get guns off the street in any possible way. And so I just wanted to thank you for letting me be part of that. And I also agree with the buyback program. I'm interested to see if that works. So thank you, Councilmember Zermaniel, for bringing that up. And then I look forward to hearing what Hayward PD says about our referral and what information it can bring. And if anything can be done about ghost guns, as I know Chief has raised that as a concern, that ghost guns are rising in our community and a lot of other communities. And then also to let community members know that this is not about us trying to take the right to bear arms. We understand what we're requesting, and it's not about that. It's about trying to keep guns out of the wrong hands. So thank you so much again for letting me be part of this.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. Thanks for bringing up the ghost guns. That's just all things that are out there, and it's time we just talked about, prioritizing some things to work on to make our city safer. So with that, I will move this item and ask for a second.
Second.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Andrews. And on the motion by me to move this referral forward, seconded by Councilmember Andrews. And I think maybe co-seconded because I know you reached for that. It's Councilmember Lamnon.
I'm happy to have Angela.
Okay. All right. Then, Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Do we need to do a public comment?
I'm sorry. Yes, we do. Of course we do. Although I don't, let me open public. We have a motion on the floor. However, I'm going to open the public comment. I see that we have 2 attendees left here at this point, and neither of them has their hands raised. So I'll close public comment. Thank you, though, Councilmember Lamnon, for pointing that out. And with that, we will move forward with the vote.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Andrews.
Aye.
Councilmember Lamnon.
Aye.
Councilmember Marquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wahab.
Yes.
Councilmember Cermeño.
Aye.
Mayor Halliday.
Yes, and the motion carries with 7 aye votes. We have been a very cohesive council this evening, I think. Or at least, we're getting to a point where we do get, by the time something gets to us, tonight we're agreeing on it. So that probably won't always be the case. But this evening in harmony, and again, in hopes that we truly can help all of the refugees who are arriving in our area and in need of friendship and the material goods of life. Let's keep them in mind, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Recording stopped.